What's up, chat? Today I am going to be explaining the basics of IV or individual values and EVs or effort values on Pokemon, as these questions are coming up a lot in Scarlet and Violet with the need to build Pokemon for raids and other roles. Both of these values directly impact the overall stat values your Pokemon can and will have for battling. First thing to note is that both of these values are more or less invisible to the player. The modern games have implemented ways to show them in-game, but for example, you need to complete the entire game to unlock the IV judge, and then you get terms associated with the IV value. Best being a perfect maximum number of 31, which would grant 31 of a stat at level 100, and no good being a perfect 0, granting nothing. The other terms have a range of potential IVs. And as for EVs, you can see on the summary screen by pressing L, this is what a Pokemon with 0 EV investment looks like, and this is what one looks like with full EVs invested to maximize attack as well as HP. Note that when you get that sparkling animation on a stat is when you fully max it out, which I will explain next. Here is where some more invisible numbers are going to come into play. When a Pokemon has no EVs in it at all and it's a nice fresh slate, remember that you have 510 total EV points to work with across all stats, and starting in Generation 8, any one stat can only have 252 EVs in it. The reason you see builds for Pokemon stopping at 252 to max a stat is because every 4 EVs equals 1 of the associated stat on the Pokemon summary screen at level 100. That means 252 EVs gives an extra 63 points of the stat. This is why you will commonly see some strong raid Pokemon like the Berserker in one of my other videos to have 252 HP EVs and 252 attack EVs. This means I've spent 504 of that 510 total possible across 2 stats. That means I only have 6 more to allocate. We are trying to minimize the amount wasted because an extra 3 EVs to any other stat would give nothing. But 4 on 1 gives us +1. And 2 are permanently wasted, which is negligible. When you get into high-end player versus player, you will see much more diverse spreads of these numbers instead of the simple juice on attack and speed, but that is also completely viable for a lot of Pokemon. So now you may be thinking, how do you get EVs onto your Pokemon? This is the other part of the invisible numbers. EVs are rewarded to any Pokemon that gains experience, except for the new auto battle function, including XP share. And there are 2 item-based methods as well, feathers and vitamins, which I will cover after the battle method. The invisible numbers I keep mentioning also pertain to the value that every single wild Pokemon you fight has attached to it. For example, Lechonk, if you're running around in the game and fighting Lechonk, it has an EV yield of 1 HP, which is a completely invisible thing. You'd have to Google it to know that information that is provided to us from data miners. Lechonk has an EV yield of 1 HP. This means if I wanted to unaided grind my HP EV to the single stat cap of 252, I would need to kill 252 Lechonk. Now that's insane, but luckily there are items you can buy called the power items, 1 for each stat, that will cause you to gain +8 EVs on top of whatever the wild Pokemon is giving you. So this would mean Lechonk is giving 9 HP EVs now with the right power item attached to your Pokemon associated with the HP value. Now I only need to murder 28 Lechonk instead of 252 straight up. You would have to Google, like I said before, a Pokemon's name and then EV yield. And in Scarlet and Violet we have the Paradox Pokemon in Area 0 that give 3 EVs of some stats, so maybe find an Outbreak with good EV yield or go to the Paradox spots with Power Bracers and you can EV train with battling very easily. The other easier method is vitamins. In this game, you can use the vitamins such as protein, HP up, etc. to give 10 EVs instantly. This means if you used 26 HP ups, you'd instantly shoot to 252 HP EVs because, like I mentioned earlier, the Generation 8 and 9 cap you at 252 to cause no potential waste on maximizing a stat. And then these other items, feathers, give 1 EV each, so you can round off stats with either more Pokemon KOs or with feathers. Or, like I said, you can use 26 to get the 252 even, or you can save a little bit of money and use 25 and then use 2 feathers for that stat. If you have a good way to grind money, then vitamins are definitely the easiest way to do EVs, but battling can also be relaxing and has the benefit of training multiple Pokemon at one time and being completely free. Because like I mentioned, it works for experience share at the same time. So if you're trying to do multiple Pokemon with one stat, you can do them all at once. Another thing to mention in this game is bottle caps. In Generation 9, bottle caps have become extremely easy to acquire. You can buy them for money, you can get them from raids, or you can find them on the ground. And when a Pokemon reaches level 50, you can take it to Monte Nevera, which is where I am right now, and use 1 bottle cap per stat on a Pokemon to set its IVs to 31. And I'll do an example here. I am going to fully level up, fully EV train, and fully IV train my Goldengo. Like so. I'm going to go into my bag. I'm going to hit it with some candies because I have a ton of candies. I'm going to press minus to sort by type. Get my candies. 250 L candies. How many would it take? It would only take 125 Ls. Okay, that's fine. Now he's at level 100. Remember, like I said, you only need to be level 50 to do IVs, but I'm going to show you the stats. The stats change. They change the most when you're at level 100. It's a scaling formula, so I'm going to show you a level 100. This guy has no EVs. He's level 100, and he needs his IVs changed. So this is the guy right outside the Pokemon Center. He is standing next to an Abomasnow. You come to him with your level 50 and over Pokemon with some bottle caps. And you talk to him. Have my Pokemon undergo some hyper training. You can see Goldengo. His level 100 stats are on screen. HP, attack, defense, speed, special defense, and special attack. He has... I'm going to be raising them all. So all of them are going to go up. He has no perfect IVs. They're all within a range. These numbers, decent, pretty good, very good. They're all ranges. So now I'm going to select him. Do you want to use bottle caps or gold bottle cap? A gold bottle cap, if you're lucky to get from the auction house or any other method in this game, can raise them all at once. I'm just going to use some of my other bottle caps. I'm going to use my regular bottle caps. HP, attack, defense, special attack, speed, and special defense. Start the training. It's going to raise all of his stats. Hyper training. It became stronger. Now I didn't need to use attack because he's a special attacker, but I just did it for kind of perfectionist's sake. But his values have gone up. You can see all of his values have gone up, and he has no EVs. He's a blank slate, like I mentioned earlier. So I'm gonna do the vitamin method because I have vitamins for my Goldengo ready to go. 25 HP ups, like I said, is gonna give him 250 HP EVs. You can press down to max them all out. And then I'm going to go to the health feathers and cap off the two remaining EVs right there. I do feathers. The calcium special attack. Use this item on Goldengo. How many bottles do you want to use? All of them. And then we go down to the genius feather and go down to this. How many genius feathers? Just 2. Genius feather to raise special attack. It won't have any effect. That means he's maxed. Health feather on him. It won't have any effect. That means he's maxed. He still has those 6 EVs. Remember, he now has 252 special attack and 252 HP. That means he has 6 left over, meaning I could raise his stat by +1. I'm gonna do speed. And boom, you can see his attack went from like 300 something to 365. You can see it went up exactly by the value of 63 that I mentioned when you do the max. And again, level 100 is the best. An extra 63 points of the stat when you do EVs into one stat. But like I also mentioned, you'll see more complex spreads in PvP. The final note. Quick topic about IVs is breeding. Natural IVs can be passed down from parents, but not hyper trained like I just did with the bottle caps. In Gen 9, high natural IV Pokemon come from 5, 6, and 7 star raids, or are extremely rare in the wild. you can make one parent hold the Destiny Knot item to pass down 5 of the potential parent's best IVs instead of 3, which happens normally when breeding, out of the total 12. So the optimal setup for breeding high IV babies is as many possible different high IVs and a Destiny Knot on one of them. The effects of these do not stack, so you're better off using Everstone on parent 2 to pass down a desirable nature when you find that on an offspring. My true last note is, again, these numbers are invisible. When you start your game and you do your first playthrough, and this is my starter from the very beginning of the game, this Pokemon's EVs are all over the place because it fought a bunch of different Pokemon throughout the whole game and gained a bunch of random different EVs, and I have no way to know exactly, but you can use EV reducing berries to fully reset a Pokemon. So the idea is you just go down the list of EV reducing berries. They each correlate to a stat, and you just reset a Pokemon to 0 and then get it back to fresh slate and then boost it up with vitamins or battle. I'm eventually going to reset my starter because I like keeping my starter around. But yes, thanks again for watching. But yeah, I think I covered everything. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments or my Discord. If I got anything wrong, same thing. Let me know in the comments or Discord. Really, really hope that you will like and subscribe and follow on Twitch. And I'll see you guys around.